Oh, all right. Welcome back, everybody. Excuse me, having some issues right when we kick the show off. Appreciate everybody who's going to join the stream and watch this probably a little bit later. I know this isn't the most ideal time, but there's some big goings on today. Yesterday, today. If you haven't heard, the big thing is that I'm not going to be the trolley, coy dude that is thinking everything is he and ha and it's just one big old joke. As it sits, Notre Dame left out of the college football playoff. I don't know where people stand on that. I am of the opinion that the committee got it wrong this year, but they're made right by the letter of the rules. They are made right. And also we'll just dive right into it because I know it's on the thumbnail and that's what a lot of people want to talk about. We're going to talk about the Indiana stuff and Ohio State, which I have a pretty big opinion on that one as well. The Ohio State folks on Twitter, grow up, seriously. It's 2 years in a row in a big game. Ryan Day has crappled the bed, but more on that in a few. Peter Bavacqua did Dan Patrick today. Obviously, Dan Patrick knew what he was doing whenever this whole thing was scheduled. Some people aren't going to like it. But at the end of the day, Notre Dame was kind of the cog of their own worst enemy, to be honest. Because when you go down the Notre Dame schedule, and I know people are going to want to fight like cats and dogs about this, but at the end of the day, who are your quality wins? Because this is what we're going down. Bavacqua said today that there was permanent damage done between Notre Dame and the ACC, which I don't doubt that at all. I do not doubt that at all. I think that it was kind of the committee hid behind the language that they needed to keep Miami in and hold Notre Dame out. Period. They hid behind the language. That's what they did. And they were well within their rights of doing that. At the end of the day, I'm not trying to bash Tulane. I'm not bashing JMU, but seriously, the Vanderbilt and Clark Lee, they took a different approach to the whole situation, and they just came out and said, we went 10-2. We had a great year, but at the end of the day, we did not execute. So that's kind of where that's at. But if you go over the Notre Dame schedule, they obviously lost to Miami by a field goal. A total of 4 points kept them out of the playoffs. They lose to Texas A&M by 1. They smash Purdue, ended up 2-10. Arkansas, they crush Arkansas 2-10. They beat Boise State. Boise State ends up 9-4. They're a conference champion, but that is what it is. NC State 7-5. USC ends up 9-3. That's a win. Boston College 2-10. They beat Navy. You can do what you want with that one. They end up beating Pitt, crushed Syracuse. But teams with losing records that Notre Dame has played, they have played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 out of the 7 opponents they had losing record. That's why a few weeks ago when I was talking about the Texas A&M thing, when I was talking about Texas A&M, when Joe called in specifically, Joe was kind of like, "Oh, we should have beat A&M, should have beat A&M." And I said, "Yeah, it's really important for Texas A&M to keep winning, because if Texas A&M would have won the SEC, I think that Notre Dame would have had a stronger argument. But I think at the end of the day, Bavacqua comes out and says what he says, but there was a reason for that. Um, they're gonna rip the ACC deal up. It's done. It's over. So the ACC is going to have to figure out another quality opponent, because I don't think Notre Dame's playing ball whatsoever. I think that it's going away. I don't know how quickly they can get that to go away, but I think Notre Dame will probably pull their sports as well because of this. And everybody's instantly going to jump on the Big Ten train. Notre Dame's not going to the Big Ten because they're just not going to do that. I think if Notre Dame lands anywhere with the deal that they have with the ACC, I think the SEC would listen, because there's money to be made by all. The SEC schools have routinely scheduled Notre Dame. A&M pretty much has been in lockstep. Auburn's got them on the schedule. I think that the SEC, if they would do the partial 5-game thing that they have with the ACC, the SEC would be ideal. Obviously, Notre Dame wouldn't be competing for the conference championship. But at the end of the day, I think the USC rivalry, that's dead. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to go, but like if you just read down the schedule, Syracuse, Pitt, Stanford, Navy, I get it, Navy's on there because Navy's always been there. But Boston College, some of these big rivalries, these ACC schools are uncompetitive. And I think that's also an indictment on the ACC as well. Miami doesn't even play for their conference championship, but yet they get into the playoff. Which is funny. And Duke is the conference champion. Make that make sense. Manny Diaz and the Duke Blue Devils are conference champions before the University of Miami Hurricanes. Manny Diaz, College Football Alerts posted this from CBF Doc Daily. Manny Diaz got fired from Miami. He's been to 2 schools since he got fired in 2021, and he still found a way to win a conference championship before Miami. And all the Miami people that want to point the finger and laugh at Notre Dame, well, we'll see what you got coming up, because you got to go on the road. You got to go on the road to College Station, and we'll see where that shakes out. So that's just some of the things that are, I think, going to happen. I think that this debate will rage on forever. I think that having JMU, I was trying to be nice about it last year, but these JMU and Tulane do not belong. We've already seen Tulane play Ole Miss 45-10. We really need to see another replay of that. And JMU, I'll give you a puncher's chance against Oregon, but it'll probably be about the same fate. Now, will I eat some crow if JMU goes on the road and wins one? Hey, more power to the Dukes, but we've already seen Tulane play Ole Miss. I don't know what we need to see it again, because could you imagine if Notre Dame was going to Vaught Hemingway and Vanderbilt was on the road at Oregon? You think I bet those TV numbers would draw better than Tulane, Ole Miss. We've already seen that this year, and it was a thrashing. No offense to John Summerall, but their kids aren't the same kids they got at Ole Miss, in my opinion. But there's that. Also, the Heisman finalists have been announced, which, no shock here. Fernando Mendoza, Diego Pavia, Jeremiah Love, Julian Sand, all named Heisman finalists. So there is that. Shout out to those guys for making it to New York. We'll have to see Who wins it? I think if I got really invested into the Heisman Trophy, I would say Fernando Mendoza should win it. Also, there are just kids hitting the portal left and right today. Quick moving day. I will say that much. Tons of folks, not really anybody that, I mean, a couple, Zach Wilson's brother, but I think that's because he got told he's not good enough to play at Utah, even though his parents probably give the school a ton of money. So there's that. And then also another thing that Ross Dellinger reported here, because of the stuff that was going on, when this MOU takes place next year, that Notre Dame is signed with the College Football Committee, they would technically be the 11th seed and they would have got in. JMU would have got left out. So there is that. You put a group of 5 team in over a power 5 team. So I don't know what to tell you. If your TV ratings suck, in which inevitably they're going to, that's why the 2 games on Friday, TNT has a doubleheader, because I would say that you're probably going to pull better numbers from other things than Tulane, Ole Miss. We've seen this. Now, in my opinion, Oklahoma, Alabama, 8:00 Friday night, December 19th. That's going to be a banger for the ages. You're going to do really well on Friday, kind of like Indiana, Notre Dame did last year. I think A&M, I can't believe ABC's putting A&M Miami. I would have made that the night game and put Tulane, Ole Miss at noon, because that's going to be an absolute snore. I mean, they beat them by 35 earlier this year. I think John Summerall's a hell of a coach as well. I know some people will say, well, that don't make no sense, but there is that. We'll have to check and see how it's going. As I'm looking at some stuff here. Monday Night Football is getting ready to kick off. Also, we're about 13 minutes into this. Also, if you're new here, do us the biggest favor and hit that like and subscribe button. That helps us a ton. And we'll be bringing you watch parties all throughout the college football season. That's kind of something we do here. But looking at the Notre Dame stuff, it's either shit or get off the pot now, I believe, with Notre Dame. They're going to have to make a decision on what they really want to do. The bowl game stuff. Yes. Glad somebody reminded me about that. Just got a text about that. The bowl game stuff, I think that is more of a bigger FU to the TV networks than it being personal, directed towards anybody. It's just the TV networks basically not going to be able to cash in on the Notre Dame brand. It's going to hurt the bowl games, which there's a lot of schools opting out of bowl games because I think it has nothing to do with playing. I think it has everything to do with it has a lot to do with how much is this going to cost me, because I have a $20 million bill that I haven't had in recent years that I've got to come up with, and a $5 to $7 million trip to a bowl game is probably not well within my budget at the moment. I get it, the kids and stuff like that, but I think they're going to start sending 5 and 7 teams to bowl games, and I think the modern bowl game thing is dead. It's over, finito. They might as well just scrap it, keep the major ones in the playoff sites, which I think those are possibly going to get scrapped too. I don't hardly see any of them surviving. I really don't, unless they reformat it and have destination games before the year, and use them bowl sites for neutral site games like the Chick-fil-A kickoff. I'm sure Notre Dame would probably get in on that, but Bavacqua taking a direct hit at, not even a direct hit, but a direct shot slight at the ACC, pretty much, saying they didn't go to bat for him. And then Jim Phillips comes back and says, we went to bat for all 17 members of our blah, 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 blah. Whatever you did, it obviously didn't work. And I don't think it's obviously going to be conducive for the Notre Dame ACC relationship going forward. I would say that they're probably most likely going to put the statement out that we've got to evaluate all avenues, which is, I really don't think that that's going to be good for them. Well, Tasker, cry harder. Here's where it comes down to about crying. I'm not crying about the ACC. I think the ACC is a dump of a conference. So I think Notre Dame aligning themselves with that is, they've kind of created their own format, and that was also something I was going to get to. The college football format, they've all voted for this. So by you voting for it, Notre Dame, the ACC, Big 12, SEC, you guys were all in the room when they decided what they were going to do. So at a certain point, you have to accept your fate. And the fact that they voted for this and they've slightly changed it a little bit, it's not going to be the quality of football that you want it to be. We've already seen Tulane lose to Ole Miss by 35 this year. So, I mean, if it's about making money, that's what it is. Can we talk about how big of a joke the committee is? Is it possible Bama gets in with 3 losses? And Indy was higher than Miami 3 weeks ago, only to get bounced when neither played. Oh, I think that, there is a lot of good points in that. They were not going to put Alabama in. That's what it came down to. They were not going to put Alabama in. Alabama was getting in no matter what, because the SEC championship would have disappeared if they wouldn't have put them in. Alabama was getting in. I think it was a cop-out to put JMU and Tulane in. It's like Jason Whitlock said earlier today, it's the everybody gets a trophy crowd. That's why they put JMU in there. They're going to get a huge thing of funding. And do I think JMU is going to win a game? Probably not. I think they're going to get crushed by Oregon, and that game will probably be over at the start of the third quarter, unless Oregon absolutely stinks it up, but doubt that. And then you have Tulane. They've already lost to Ole Miss. They lost to them by 35 points. I don't know what else we need to see there. Other than that, I'm not really Vito comes back. It's a joke, though, because they played in the SEC title game. If that was their saving grace, BYU shouldn't have been punished. Texas Tech, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Oh, the BYU stuff's even worse than Notre Dame. BYU has lost 2 games all year to the same team, once in the conference championship and once in the regular season. So technically, BYU has 2 losses. They've beaten everyone else they've played. I think that at the end of the day, Vanderbilt has something to complain about. And yeah, I'll agree with you. It is flawed logic. It really is. Because they have no. You're not going to tell me that JMU is better than BYU, or that James Madison is better than BYU. It's better than Vanderbilt, Notre Dame. It's just not good what they did here, and they've made a mess of it. And the easiest way to pack this whole thing up is to blow it up. The two teams that you played finished ranked, you lost to. I don't care. I find it interesting that Notre Dame got left out, but I have an Oklahoma hoodie on today. Go Sooners. But they're in the playoffs, but I'm not really a fan of any team really since doing the YouTube stuff. It makes it real subjective. It makes it easier not to be a fan, although I was pulling hard for Indiana last night. But that's kind of what my thoughts are on the Notre Dame stuff. We'll see if the breakoff happens. Yeah, join what? Join the ACC, because that's going to be irrelevant, and the Big 12's irrelevant. One and one bid leagues. At that point, you might as well just join a group of five concert, or a conference, a group of five conference, because they got two teams in. No, I think the Vito says, I don't care that Indy got left out. I really don't care either. I just thought it was topical to throw on the thumbnail. It's just a terrible look how Indy was ranked higher the last 3 weeks over Miami, but they jumped them when neither one of them played. No, exactly. Look at how this whole thing is shaken out. Duke is the conference champion at 7 or at 8-5. Miami couldn't play for it because they lost too much. You want to tell me the conferences matter? They don't matter. The ACC champion is 8-5. It's what it is, because the conferences are way too big. And also, let's think about this too. The Atlantic Coast Conference has Cal and Stanford in it, because that makes sense. Miami should have been in over Indy for a couple of weeks. Well, we're about to find out, because they play Texas A&M, and we'll see if the committee's right. Miami goes out there and beats A&M. Hey, more power to them. They got it right. But Miami goes out there and gets boat raced by A&M, then you're really going to have some people bitching about that. So that is that. Penn State hires Matt Campbell. Also, if you're new here, hit that like and subscribe button. That helps us a ton. Penn State hires Matt Campbell from Iowa State. I didn't really see there was a ton of backlash on this hire. I think that Penn State made an absolute mockery of the last couple weeks, and also Indy can't bitch. They lost to A&M at home. I think the committee is going to have teams not schedule any hard games in the regular season, because there is no point. It didn't help, like, head Texas and oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. Oh yeah, I think eventually they're going to. I think you're going to have like the SEC's going to the 9 conference games, but I just don't see it. It was never Miami versus Indy. It was Indy versus Bama. Well, They use strict language to hide behind, in my opinion. Because you're not going to tell me that Tulane and James Madison, you could put those teams together. No offense to Bob Chesney or John Summerall. You could put those two teams together and they ain't beating Bama or Notre Dame or any of the myriad of teams that you can think of that got left out. But the SEC strong arm Bama in over Indy. A 3-loss Bama shouldn't have ever got in, truthfully. They held the conference championship loss against BYU, but they didn't against Alabama. It's hard to argue that one because they did. So at the end of the day, there is that. I think it's fascinating, but also fascinating. Matt Campbell says it's a dream come true. It's one of the greatest honors of my life. I couldn't be more grateful than to be here. Bama's the only loser not to ever drop. Yeah, that is true. The Matt Campbell hire, I think that is interesting to say the least. Penn State rides the ship. I believe, I don't even know who they're playing. I think they're playing in the Bad Boy Mower Bowl or something. I think those are about to all but subsequently disappear as well. But yeah, Penn State hires Matt Campbell. Yeah, they're playing 6-6. Penn State is taking on 7-5 Clemson. So we'll see exactly how this whole thing shakes out. But Matt Campbell takes over, trying to salvage the recruiting class. I don't know what it's going to look like up there at Penn State. I think they have 2 kids committed. If Penn State would have been more on top of this and would have hired somebody by Thanksgiving because they had one of the longer job openings, it probably would have, the recruiting side of it probably would have been better. And then also you have to think in, what is it, in 35 some odd days, the transfer portal opens up. I would say you'll get a myriad of folks that are going to come from Iowa State. It'll be kind of interesting as well. Also in some coaching news, a lot of stuff came out today around the Florida regime. John Summerall's not retaining Billy Gonzalez, which I can't say I don't disagree with him there. I wouldn't be shocked if Billy Gonzalez ends up on Lane Kiffin's staff in Baton Rouge. Wouldn't be shocked. Just got a hunch on that one. I think that, where it comes down to it, with all the stuff going on, there's a lot of moving parts, especially today. And then we're gonna get to here it is, Bavacqua's comment. He rips Tim Phillips, blah, 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 and says, basically this was wrote by Adam Rittenberg of ESPN, says that permanent damage has been caused by this. So there is that. I'm just looking at that. Believe it was Will Hall to head up the Tulane Green Wave, promoted after Summerall leaves to take the Florida job. And then also I find this fascinating. Tennessee fires Banks. They fired Tim Banks on Monday. He'd been with the Vols since 2021. I think that's fascinating that they fired him. I don't think the defense I mean, if you look at where they've ranked nationally, they were 92nd and giving up 22 or 28.8 points a game, and 88th in yards are allowed. They were giving up around 400 yards. So I don't know. I thought Tennessee's defense was yeah, it's not good. Not good. Tennessee fires Tim Banks. Wouldn't that be the ultimate double cross by Josh Heupel? Goes out and hires Jeremy Pruitt to be the defensive coordinator at Tennessee. I think that would be funny, to say the least. But also, you can do us the biggest favor: hit that like and subscribe button. Help us grow this thing. We are here normally Monday through Friday, but we will, without further ado, we will address it. I was excited. I don't know where anybody had thought that this was going to go, but the Indiana Hoosiers are Big Ten champions. I know. Let that sink in. The Indiana Hoosiers are Big Ten champions. I think that at a certain degree, Indiana won that game. The Ohio State people are dying on the hill that they lost it. But regardless, it is what it is. Indiana wins the game. The kicker, Jaden Fielding, I'm not really trying to pile on the kid here, but he was jawing with Indiana fans before he went out to make that kick. So there's kind of that, and then he goes out there and hooks one, and I don't know if it's defensible for on that end of it. Indiana is the Big Ten champion this year. Kirk Cignetti in 2 years is 22-2. Indiana moves to 13-0 as they cruise into the playoffs and get the winner of Alabama, Oklahoma, which we'll have to see how this whole thing shakes out, but there is kind of where we're at. But I really think that the committee got this one wrong. I don't think JMU deserves to be in the college football playoff. I know that's going to sound contradictory. It's no slight against the entire program itself, but I just don't see it, and I just don't see Tulane doing it because, I mean, they've already been beat by 35. We've seen them 35 points, 35-0. So you have that, and you got also you also have, some other things shaking out, just more stuff coming out about the Kiffin stuff. I think Lane is fascinating, to say the least. I don't think we've heard the end of this. So there is that. Also, Memphis hires Charles Huff. Sorry about that. Had a bit of a brain fart, but Charles Huff is going to do that. And then he's going to be the Memphis head coach, which applauds to him. We'll have to see exactly. I think Charles Huff's a good coach. I think that's going to work out. And then some other news. After Oklahoma State hires Eric Morris hopes to retrieve the Bedlam rivalry. That's what I think they're trying to do with Oklahoma. I think that's also going to be fascinating on how they're going to try to get that done. But there is still all kinds of coaching movement going on throughout the day. And then also Notre Dame declines the bowl bid, which I kind of like that, to say the least. And they were saying, some news outlets are saying that by the hiring of Charles Huff, it's going to completely shake up the whole Memphis program, which I think it's the best out of the group of 5 jobs outside of JMU. I would say JMU. Tulane still got some. They have admissions requirements that I think that, but that's just their standard there for the wave. But I think that for the most part, Memphis is probably the best P or group of 6 job, in my opinion. I think that's the best job they had. I mean, Charles Huff won at he wanted Marshall, and then whenever Marshall didn't want to give him a new contract, he just bolted to Southern Miss. Southern Miss won 1 game as the new Tulane coach, Will Hall, which he'll be going out against when he takes over the Memphis job. But Charles Huff goes to Southern Miss in 1 year and goes 7-5 with his guys. Also, another guy, Jason Candle, leaves to Toledo to go to. He won 2 MAC titles, and he leaves there to go to UConn, which is kind of interesting. And so there's that. Tim Beck was fired from Coastal Carolina, which kind of not shocked by that. I wonder who Southern Miss is going to hire. I wonder if Derek Nix's name doesn't come up. The guy calling ball plays at Auburn, or was, but we'll see what Golish has in mind. New regime takeover there, so there is that. Ryan Silverfield exited to Arkansas. He must think the grass is greener on the other side, but we'll see. Oregon's defensive coordinator is at Cal, which he was at Alabama with Dan. And when Dan went to Georgia, he took him. Billy Napier going to be the head coach at JMU. And then Bob Chesney's record at JMU, 20-4. He's going to UCLA. Interim coach Alex Mortensen. Trent Dilfer fired at UAB, which I didn't foresee that helping a ton. Brian Hartline hired to replace Alex Golish. Neil Brown in. Will Stein in. Mark Stoops, 82-80. Winning record at Kentucky. That should also count for something. He left Kentucky with a winning record. 2 games above 500 in 13 years. And I think probably one of the top hires of the offseason, Michigan State, Sparty, hires Pat Fitzgerald, and Michigan State's admissions requirements are totally different. So, and then also, here's this. Pete Thamel breaks in here. 4 current LSU offensive assistants are joining Charlie Weiss Jr. at Ole Miss to prepare the team for the CFP run. It is tight ends coach Joe Cox, wide receivers coach George McDonald, and assistant quarterback coach Dane Stevens, and the slot receiver coach Sawyer Jordan all returned to Oxford this morning. Wonder how that's going to shake out. Something just doesn't sit right on that one. There's something off about that. I think there's something majorly off. But Ole Miss promoted Pete Golding. Lane Kiffin, 6 seasons at Ole Miss, 55-19 out, off to LSU. John Summerall replaces Billy Napier. Golish replaces Hugh Freeze. Silverfield replaces Pittman, which it feels like months ago Sam Pittman got fired, which it's kind of true. It feels like a lifetime ago. So those are just some more of the notable things. Although I am kind of interested in why Jim Mora Jr. had a good thing going at UConn. They were, I believe, UConn independent. They were starting to turn the corner and win some games, and he just up and leaves and goes to Colorado State, which, whatever, Colorado State, I say good luck to you, my friend. Although I don't think Colorado State was a Jay Norvell problem. I think it was a funding issue because I don't think they have any money. Well, University of Colorado at Boulder, they got like McChesney said they had like McChesney and Bailey on 0 to 60 said they got like a $27 million hole in their budget. I'm not no accountant, but I don't know how the hell you lose $27 million. Eric Morris replaces Mike Gundy, James Franklin. Brent Pry out. He got fired on September 14th, and he just got rehired in, what would that be? When did he get hired? The 8th. So he was only unemployed for a little bit. And Kenny Burns got fired in the spring. He was technically the first guy that got fired this year. He got fired after 2 seasons, 1 in 23. So those are some of the notable hires and fires on what they got going on. Kalani Sitake, I think that's interesting that they wanted to. Penn State was after him, and they thought that he was going to push the corner. But I think BYU's got deeper pockets and better resources than what Penn State does. I know the Penn State people want to fight and argue about it, but look at your recruiting. And I believe Tim Smith's going to stay on as a member of the staff. So you kind of have that. It'll be interesting. So 4 hours ago, this is the Jim Phillips statement via Ross Dillinger. At no point in time was it suggested by the ACC that Notre Dame was not a worthy candidate for any inclusion in the field. The fact that you're coming out and addressing this tells me this doesn't pass the smell test. It just doesn't. That's kind of where I'm at. So we'll see. Bavacqua is probably not thrilled at all. It is what it is. You got left out. And so So I kind of think that that's where that's at. Do I think we're going to see 16 teams. I just think we're seeing 16 teams. I don't know about like the auto bids, but I think we're going to see 16 teams sooner rather than later. I don't know how you get around it because you can't leave teams like Texas and Notre Dame out of this thing. It wasn't a snub. Stop crying. Go Gators 34-96. Yeah. I hopefully you guys give John Summerall time and don't fire him. Huh. That's interesting. Yeah, it's not 1996, but hopefully Summerall boots all the morons out of the Florida program, which he's off to a good start. He got rid of Billy Gonzalez. I would say pretty much anybody that's associated or that does any business with Urban, I would boot them as well. That's what I would do, but I think that's why Napier was unsuccessful, and they didn't spend any money. So I think that has a lot to do with it as well. And I think it's good that I think it's good that he's going to have a lot to say in the NIL on the NIL side of it. After looking at his contract, I think it'll be good. So there's that. But yeah, the going through the whole process is interesting, to say the least. Also, Florida people, how's it going on the Lane Kiffin front? How is that working out for you? That's interesting. Also, I do think it's interesting that since the college football playoff has started, Indiana's been there twice. That's 2 more times than the University of Florida. But they got a chance. They got Summerall. I think Summerall will be good for them if they kind of try to leave the dude alone. I think that's the key to Summerall's success. If they leave him alone, he'll be all right. But there's that. Notre Dame stuff. Outside of that, I think we'll see 16 teams going forward before I was rudely interrupted by Go Gators 34-96. So yeah, we'll have to see how long it'll be before Notre Dame tears up the ACC thing, that little agreement. I'm sure that is going to affect their TV dollar when it comes time to the renegotiating of it. I bet it does. So that's kind of where I'm at on it. And I'm sure there's going to be more stuff that comes out with the Bavacqua thing. I don't think that is cut and dry or done at all. And I like how right now they're in the CAA spin cycle is going with Kiffin right now, trying to say LSU is lending 4 staffers to the Ole Miss coaching staff. I'll be shocked if they all come back. That's kind of what I was thinking. Also, Monday Night Football kicking off. Justin Herbert So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. We'll be back probably. We'll have Richie on tomorrow, getting his thoughts more in depth on the Big Ten championship, the debacle that was. A lot of Ohio State people say that Indiana did not win that game. Indiana lost, or Ohio State lost that game. But no matter how you slice it, they had two opportunities in the second half inside the red zone and botched them both. So I don't think they got any grievance, in my opinion. That's just kind of where it's at. But yeah, they also, here's this. Ross Dillinger tweets from yesterday some of the things that I had notated about. The Big 12 fines Kansas State and Iowa State both $500,000 for opting out of bowl bids. Yeah, that is not good. I think it's interesting that Virginia Tech fires their head coach after it starts this off too, Dillinger with the tweet. Zach Arnett returns to Mississippi State as defensive coordinator after 2 years of being fired as head coach. Brent Pray returned to Virginia Tech as defensive coordinator 2 months after being fired as head coach. Kind of weird. But I'm not shocked that I think James Franklin, that was one of his conditions. I have control of the staff stuff. Signetti being or joy I got from OSU loss. Yeah, the Ohio State people did not handle that well. Not as well as I thought they would. Because, I asked, some people, I said, well, is Indiana a good football team? It's very interesting. And especially during the SEC championship game, they did show the bubble teams. It was Alabama at 10-3, Notre Dame at 10-2, and Miami at 10-2, which Miami was ranked below Notre Dame and jumps them on an off week. So there's that. Yeah, Signetti has done a bang up job in the 2 years. He goes and slides the Goliath that was Ohio State. Although I thought that Charlie Baker crying was overblown. I'm just not rocking with it. They just won the Big Ten championship for the first time since 1967. I don't know how many people were alive to experience that, but they want to say that because he said fuck you to a bunch of Ohio State fans. Whatever. Nobody said anything when Eli Drinkwitz was yelling at Oklahoma people. It's just like grow up, people. And then you have especially the former players out there saying, "Oh, we won with class." They aren't leaving out the SEC championship game. Oh, I know, but trying to pull we won with class, but you had Will Howard doing the thing with the camera, even though Will Howard probably going to be starting quarterback of the Steelers next year. But it's funny because that was cool. What Will Howard did was cool, and it was, yeah. And then Charlie Baker says, fuck you, and it's, oh my God, you gotta have class. Like, that is That's one of the major issues I have with the whole Ohio State fan base is because when, their guys are out there doing you have the Will Howard thing, they got in a big debate on the radio. I didn't hear about that. I was just talking in general. He's an asshat. Man, Dave's here. Tough crowd. He hates Signetti. I just can't believe the Indiana Hoosiers are Big Ten champions. And we'll have to see what I think the Big Ten hired some good coaches. I do. I think that bringing Pat Fitzgerald back is major. I wonder how long it's going to take him to get that turned around up there in Sparty. At Sparty, I think that Sparty has some major infighting issues, and I think they gave Jonathan Smith kind of a raw deal because I don't think they gave him the resources to compete. He brought some guys with him, but the Michigan State post Mel Tucker incident was not. I don't think that was going to get resolved quickly. I think that's a 4 to 6 year thing. And I think that when he got there, I don't think he realized how bad it really was. So there's kind of that also. So I think Matt Campbell's starting behind the 8 ball. And I think he's starting behind the 8 ball big time. So we'll have to see where it all shakes out, but he is starting behind the 8 ball because he ain't going to have nothing in this recruiting class. And then the only thing he's going to be able to do is get ready for next year with what guys he's got, depending on if a whole bunch of them don't leave. So I think that it's going to be a fascinating next couple of weeks, just for the simple fact of you've got the transfer portal opening, you have playoffs going on, you have Notre Dame waging war against the ACC. It's going to be, I think, interesting to see how this whole thing shakes out, to say the least. I'm not picking a side on the Notre Dame thing. I mean, all these people that show up and say cry harder don't really understand what they're doing, because I'm just stating simple facts, and people don't like facts and logic. I totally understand that. Whether Notre Dame makes the playoffs or not, I'm going to sleep really well the next day, regardless. Now, there's some people that are going to be emotionally distraught about it, or upset or pissed off. But at the end of the day, they all got in a room and voted on this format, and this is what you get. That's why I said, I released a short a few weeks ago. That's why I said, stop complaining about the format you voted for. Period. You voted for it. It's just like it's just like with anything else. You voted for it. You want it. So here you go. Now you deal with it. It's not my problem that Notre Dame went in there and thought that you're going to put the helmet, and with a pretty decent roommates, the checks are cashing. Yeah, that's right, Dave. With a pretty decent resume, wasn't the greatest resume, but I still look at it as you're going to have to figure it out. And I think that's why they're going to have to go to 16 teams. But so I guess we'll wrap it there for tonight. Richie will be on tomorrow. Appreciate everybody who's tuned in. Florida people, you haven't changed at all, ever. Appreciate you. Hit that like and subscribe button, and we will talk to you tomorrow.